I think the funny thing to me, at least, and by funny I mean sad and strange about digital transformation, is that it's kind of a self-made crisis in a lot of ways for a lot of organizations, and it's become sort of one big game of catch-up. And what I mean by that is, if organizations had started the process of keeping pace with consumer change 20 years ago, when digital really started to become a driving force in the economy, we wouldn't have a lot of the challenges that our organizations have today, and we wouldn't even be talking about digital transformation, because these organizations would have naturally adapted over time in ways that would allow those organizations to remain relevant to consumers and to, by 2021, frankly, be fully digital organizations, because that's what the consumer expects. So when I think about how organizations can keep pace with change from here on forward, to me, a few things spring to mind. First of all, organizations really do need to have a 10 or 20-year horizon. And we need to be leaders in organizations, need to be students of change. And what I mean by that is really make the effort, take the time to educate themselves about how the world is changing around them today. Not just in their own industry, but in every industry. And really think about how those changes might play out over time. And there are a lot of ways that organizations can be students of change. There's certainly desktop research, right, and going to events and, looking at what futurists or trend spotters are watching. But of course, one of the best ways to do that is to talk to your own customers and to understand how their needs and their desires, their wants, their demands are evolving at the hands of all the technological change that's happening and social and cultural change that's happening around us. I think the other thing that has held organizations back historically is a willingness to act. I think a lot of times organizations get stuck, they get paralyzed by analysis or stumped by change, and they don't actually act, or they think they need to act at such a grand scale that it becomes frightening and they kind of get stuck. Action is as important as understanding. Stop thinking of transformation as digital. It is really so much more than that. And I think they hear the word digital and think it's all about making over the business to be a more digital version of what it's always been. But that, of course, is not the purpose of transformation. The objective should not be to become more digital, but to become more adaptive in the face of change. Because the thing that is obvious more than it ever was now that we're in this post-pandemic era is that change will come hotter and heavier and harder and faster than it has ever come before. To me, for a smooth transformation, we need to have this philosophy that change is in fact a journey. Transformation is in fact a journey that happens progressively over time. And that we are not just repairing our organizational issues for today, but setting our organization up to be a very different organization for the future. And then once you have that mindset from a practical standpoint, obviously it's important to have a clear long-term vision, to communicate that vision clearly to everybody in the organization. Ensure that the people in the organization, many of whom will be change resistant, understand why this benefits them personally and professionally, how you are going to take them along on the journey, how they can play a role in reimagining the future, and why change isn't scary. And provide the programs and the education, things like upskilling and reskilling those people will need to keep pace as the organization changes. Because a lot of times organizations not only try to do too much all at once, but leadership sprints off and leaves the rest of the organization behind wondering, what does this mean for me?